Why did I become an attorney? I'm going to be real with you. I didn't have this well thought out plan. My parents weren't attorneys. I'm a son of a barber. And one of the things that influenced me was people that I grew up, man, bricks and concrete on the south side of Chicago. We had a lot of good people, but many people were getting arrested, going to jail. Their rights were being violated. And I learned early on that knowledge was power. If you don't have knowledge, you might as well be standing in line telling a wolf, hey, I'm a sheep. And I said, I got to get that knowledge. I got to get that power. And one day a guy came in my father's barbershop, and he was an attorney. Worked for, I believe, Sears, and was just a very, very intriguing guy. That was my first experience to becoming interested actually in the law. But again, it wasn't a well thought out, preconceived design plan. I wasn't in a situation where I could go to dad, granddad, who were lawyers, lawyers of lawyers and lawyers. No, man, that was not my lineage. Man, my lineage was working class, blue collar, factory, 9 to 5. So it wasn't something that, I was born or destined to do. I did it out of a sense of wanting knowledge, power, and information, and being able to turn around and help individuals who didn't have that same knowledge that I would possess. The thing that motivates me is the fear of losing. I always wanted to create challenges in my life. I remember when I played football as a youngster, a young man in my teens and 20s. Fear is one of the things that really motivated me, and I was deathly afraid of my father. And I knew that I had to get back to school and run 880 yards in a certain time to make the college football team. So what I did was I ran the bathtub water and I timed it. And I timed it so that I knew that I could get out and go run, and I had to be back in time before the tub flooded over and ruined the house, because I knew my father would have a fit. And so that's how I made my time. I used that motivation of fear to make me become one of the fastest 800-yard runners on the football team by turning the water on, letting it fill up, knowing that I had to run 880 yards in a certain time. Otherwise, if I got back home, water would just have ruined the house. My father would have killed me. And I learned it's the fear. It is the fear of failure that motivates me. As a matter of fact, people say, Attorney Reed, what cases can you remember the best? When you do it the way a real lawyer should do it, as many times if you've been in the courtroom, you're going to leave part of you there. And the parts that you leave there, you can never get back. So what motivates me is that fear of losing, that fear of not measuring up, that fear of letting a client down. I don't remember a single thing about any case that I've won. I remember everything about those that I've lost. My most memorable case, lawyers like to go around thinking that they're these great lawyers and that they, when we win these cases, that it was so great. And sometimes it is. But at the end of the day, you win because of a lot of factors that are intangible factors. I don't focus on that. Again, the memorable cases to me are the cases that I lose. I don't remember a thing about the cases that I've won. I remember every single case that I've lost, and it's not been a lot. I've had over 300 trials, combined with jury and non-jury. I remember names, I remember their occupations, I remember their kids' names, their kids' occupations. I'm in tune with my clients. One particularly memorable experience I had was, and this was a pretty docile legal issue. Anyway, this gentleman came to me. He was sitting in front of me, and it was clear to me that this gentleman had some kind of illness or ailment. And in the middle of the conversation, he disclosed to me that he was HIV positive. And then I realized what the open wounds and lesions were. And it hit me You know, because this was over 10 or 15 years ago when we were a lot less intelligent as a society about HIV. You know, people were actually thinking you can get HIV if somebody coughs or somebody, you know, breathes in your direction. I mean, we just didn't know. But here sat a man that needed my help, okay? And when I went to law school, I didn't graduate to represent people who are completely well. I didn't become an attorney to represent black people or just white people or Latino people. I went to law school and graduated to become a lawyer who will help all people. But I have to admit, that rocked me when he said, I'm HIV positive. I'd be lying if I said anything different. After he told me his situation, 15-20 minutes later, we got up, I agreed to represent him, I shook his hand. And I've never seen anything like this before, and I've been practicing over 25 years. He broke down and cried. This man broke down and cried. And his mother was sitting next to him, and she broke down and cried. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. Like, wow, maybe this is gratitude. I didn't win anything. He just signed with me. He said to me, Attorney Reed, you're the first lawyer that was not afraid to touch me after I disclosed that I had HIV. That was the most memorable client that I have had in 25 years, and I don't even remember the gentleman's name. I don't even know if he's alive or not. But that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. That's the most memorable client that I've had in 25 years. An individual who broke down and cried because nobody would even touch him. And I thought, have we gotten this bad as a society? Are we this indecent as human beings, as attorneys, as professionals? I'd like to think not. But that's the most memorable client I've had. I've represented some pretty rich, very powerful, very famous, very influential individuals. How do I keep in touch with the little guy? That's very easy. I'm from that little guy background. As I indicated, bricks and concrete. My dad was a barber. I saw my first cold blood killing when I was maybe 9 years old on King Drive. It was about 50 yards in front of me. And it was an argument that started over a parking space. And a shooting resulted. Everyone got up and ran. And that shooter walked right by me and looked me dead in my eyes and disappeared over into projects called the Ida B. Wells. Only when I heard the sounds of the sirens did something shake in me, and I got up and I ran. It was that experience that led me to believe that I needed to become an attorney. I needed to make a difference in the lives of people. I needed a platform to go into schools, to go into places all around the country and let people know, hey, I'm like you. Yeah, I wear a suit and tie, I wear a coat and tie, but my experiences are like your experiences. And that's important. When you go to career days in these high schools around the city of Detroit, around the city of Chicago, around Los Angeles, these children are very brilliant, but they want to hear from somebody who have shared their experiences. They want to hear from somebody who is like them. And so out of that backdrop, out of those experiences that I've had, I never forget the little guy, because I am the little guy when it comes to where I'm from, where I'm born, where I'm raised. But you can have big dreams and you can be successful. And that's what I enjoy most about what I do, is helping those individuals who may be disenfranchised and not have access to the legal system as folks do who have money, power, and privilege. Wow, what was it like representing R. Kelly, Aretha Franklin, and Kwame Kilpatrick? Whew, that's a mouthful. Let me start with the Kales. Man, I've never seen a more talented artist up close and personal. I can recall one time I bought Rob some suspenders. They were braided suspenders. And this was a gig that he was doing at the Palace back in the 90s. And I came in, they ushered me in the back way, and we were just talking. We were backstage, and I was negotiating some things for him at that time. And so we got up, and I said, "Where's your bathroom?" So both of us went, to the bathroom, and we're just standing there, and I joked with him. I said, "Hey man, here's some suspenders that I wanted to get for you. I know you can't afford them." And he just looked at me like, "What? Where are you from?" So I said, "Okay, well, you really can't sing." Now this was before Trapped in the Closet. Man, this dude broke out in operetta, and I was amazed. And then he pointed to the monitor and said, "This person is lip singing. This person is," "I don't lip sync, son. I don't lip sync." And broke out in operetta. The dude was brilliant. And at that particular time, maybe it's changed, he couldn't really read and write that well. He would have somebody, a thought would pop in his head, and he would write this down. One of the most singularly talented individuals in the music business that I ever met. Aretha Franklin. I represented Aretha Franklin in a copyright, trademark, and infringement issue. I was in LA for several weeks. They wanted to misappropriate a 1972 documentary with Aretha Franklin, and what makes this documentary so powerful is Aretha singing in a Black Baptist church, and it's live. None of this studio, let's do it over, retake, auto-tune. This is live, uncut, raw. 18-year-old Aretha, and James Cleveland, all the big wigs are there. As the crowd, the camera pans the crowd, you see somebody going like this, and this little bitty black church, cracks in the ceiling, paint's falling down the platform. You see this guy like this, and then you realize that's Mick Jagger. That's Mick Jagger in the front row. And the brother had rhythm, man. And you see other people in this video. It is so powerful, and they misappropriated and wanted to make a documentary, and I was able to shut that down. I spent a significant time in Los Angeles. Aretha's a brilliant artist, very, very serious about her work. In fact, I represented her for 6 months before she let me refer to her as Aretha, and she really didn't let me. After I won the case, I said to her, "Now can I call you Aretha?" And she didn't answer. So you know what that meant. No, I'm still Miss Franklin. Very, very nice lady. Doesn't get fair treatment, I think, in the press. Kwame Kilpatrick. I've got to take my glasses off on the Quamster. That is probably one of the most difficult cases, real talk as the young folks say, that I've been involved in. Difficult from the perspective of he became a pariah, one of the most hated individuals in the city. The accusations were wild. Everybody bought into this, let's hate Kwame. Kwame's the reason that this city is in the position that it was in. We're gonna have to file bankruptcy, this, that, and the other. The racial overtures were just out of control. I did his appeal. I wasn't his trial attorney, but I will say this. I got a lot of flack. Individuals would come up to me and they would say, "How could you represent Kwame Kilpatrick? How could you represent Kwame Kilpatrick?" And what folk didn't understand is a large portion of what they said Kwame did, he didn't do. And some of the stuff that Kwame did, other individuals had done. Didn't make it right. Didn't make it right, of course. But they began to look at Kwame as an example of the downfall of the city of Detroit. I had to explain to other individuals that when you're dealing out here in society with racism as an African American young male, okay, I'm representing Kwame Kilpatrick. Because when you get up in the morning and you put that coat and tie on, or you put that backpack on your back, and you going and you trekking off to your class and you getting your studies, or you going off to your law office, or you going off to that Chrysler plant, some people see you. They see Kwame in you. So when I represent Kwame Kilpatrick, I'm upholding the law, ensuring constitutional rights, and I'm representing you. I'm representing that man that you look at every day in the mirror, that other people, while you looking at you, other people looking at Kwame. And that's the reality of it. That is the reality of it. So that's why I represented Kwame Kilpatrick, is because I felt I had to. I had a choice to say no. I had to represent Kwame Kilpatrick, because if we can uphold the constitutional rights of the former mayor, we can uphold the constitutional rights of anybody. And if I may, that's the dichotomy in this country. Okay, we say that with this free speech thing, that look, Donald Trump was saying the other day, we will revoke your citizenship for burning the flag. We lock you up and put you in jail for burning the flag. Okay? As that's somehow sacrilegious. Now, I don't support burning the flag. Let me be clear on that. Okay? But that's freedom of speech, right? Why aren't we talking about putting people in jail and kicking people out the country when you light up a cross and burn it? Isn't that the same thing? When you light up a cross in this country and you burn it in the name of hatred, we're not talking about kicking anybody out of the country for that. Okay? That's protected speech. But burning the flag, isn't it? That's where we have to level the playing field. You understand? With justice, true justice in America, for people who cannot speak for themselves, be it black, be it white, be it Mexican, be it whatever composition we have come together in this great nation, right? That's Kwame Kilpatrick included. That's O.J. Simpson included. That's Robert Blake included. That is everyone that is labeled a criminal defendant. And as long as the inequities and injustices exist in these United States of America, I will represent Kwame Kilpatrick. I will represent anyone who is accused of a crime to make sure their constitutional rights are upheld. Because if they can not uphold the rights of those individuals, then we all are in trouble. Who has inspired me? I've had so many inspirations. Johnny Cochran was one. I had the pleasure of meeting Johnny Cochran in Los Angeles years ago when I was there. Tavis Smiley introduced me to Johnny Cochran, and I was expecting to see this big dude, 6'4", 6'5", and I was kind of happy because I could look Johnny right in the face. Me and Johnny were eye to eye, and immediately just the presence of Johnny, really changed the focus and direction of how I approach the practice of law. I don't have to say a lot about Johnny. What can you say about Johnny? He was such a great attorney. My father was an inspiration to me as well, and I learned my greatest lesson, and I'll tell you two things. When I got ready to go to law school, and I told you my father was a barber, he sat me down and he put a liner and a wall clipper in front of me. And he said, "What is this?" And this is before I'm getting ready to go to law school. He says, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, my old man tripping again. Here's one of these lectures." So, I told you I was scared of my old man, so I couldn't disrespect him and say, "Pops, you on something?" So I said, "They're clippers." Out of nowhere, bam! He slaps me upside the head. He said, "No, dummy, that's freedom." I'm like, "What?" He said, "I can take these clippers anywhere in the world. I may never get rich, but I'll always be able to make some money. And I will support myself." School is designed to make you go there and get a job for somebody else. Be your own man. Think independently. And number two, don't believe everything you read in them books. That was the advice that my father gave me, a barber. Freedom. financial, economic, social freedom. Work for yourself. Don't believe everything that they tell you. Investigate. Check it out. Check it out. And that became my mantra. And I tell everybody when I'm investigating a case for a client, oh, Mr. Reed, this witness is going to say such and such. Well, did you talk to him? Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. If your mother tells you she loves you, find a way to check it out. How do I represent clients that may be guilty? First of all, that's an excellent question. I don't know if they're guilty or not. I have no clue. Here's what I do know. I've had a client at one time, he was accused of murder, and I asked the prosecution for a good plea deal for him. The prosecutor looked at me and said, Mr. Reed, why would I offer you a deal? I can get a conviction on your client blindfolded. Well, we go all the way around the trial. Client is found not guilty. I bought a blindfold and I left it on his desk. He knew who that was. The young boy confessed over 18 pages to a murder. To a murder. Ballistics, all the physical evidence, the DNA, when that came back, it was scientifically impossible for him to have committed that murder. Okay? Scientifically impossible. Why would he confess? Who knows? That's like trying to say or answer when Pinocchio knew that if he continued to lie, his nose would keep growing. Do we know why Pinocchio would keep lying with that knowledge that his nose would grow? Who knows? So you don't know if they're guilty. At the end of the day, it's the evidence that I focus on. These cases will rise and fall on evidence. And that takes me back to one other point. When we win big cases, we like to go around beating on our chest, saying we're such great lawyers. But at the end of the day, it's what the evidence shows. That's what I focus on. Not a client's alleged guilt, not a client's alleged innocence. It is what the evidence shows. And at the end of the day, win or lose, I can walk out of that courtroom, I can lay my head down at night knowing that I focused on the evidence and I focused on the only thing that mattered, representing my client to the fullest extent of the law.
Nation.
Am I really the best trial lawyer in the nation? But of course, I'm the best trial lawyer in the nation. Right. A lot of people like these labels and these tags about how great they are, about they're the greatest trial lawyers in America. I'm the greatest trial lawyer, in the country, in the nation, in North America. Don't you know who I am? I mean, that's all, I guess that works for some people, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I'm gonna be judged on my merits. Yeah, I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I'm not the kind of person, in spite of my successes, that is afraid to admit or acknowledge that. Okay? I give full honor to our Creator because through, in, and with Him, and at His will, I am able to do the things that I am able to do in terms of helping people. So, at the end of the day, how good or how great an attorney I am, I'll leave that to the people, not me. I won't focus on that. That's a distraction. As at the end of the day, I'd like to be known as Arnold Reed, who happened to be a lawyer, who sure enough gave a damn about the social, economic, political condition, human condition, if you will, of all people in this country, in this world, and was a lawyer on the side of people. Arnold Reed, who happened to be an attorney, as opposed to attorney Arnold Reed. That's how I would like people to remember me, and that I never back down. I never let fear overcome me. Doesn't mean when you walk into battle you're not nervous, but I never turned the lights out. If the lights went out, it's because it was a power outage. I never turned the lights out. I never ran away from a battle, and I never quit. That's how I want to be remembered. because I'm fighting for you. And when I'm fighting for you, I'm fighting for me.